now either. I'm having issues with this.
Welcome, everyone, and let's call the meeting to order. Welcome to City Council business meeting for Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. Let's rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns, Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Rezanetti. Present. Okay, that's 6 here, 1 absent, Burns. Thank you. Let's move on to approval of minutes. Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand and ask for unanimous approval of the meeting minutes from the October 6th, 2021 business meeting.
You have a second?
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we have already announced the public hearing for the budget, but we can have the clerk announce our upcoming public hearings for the viewers at home. Binghamton City Council and the mayor will hold a public hearing regarding Introductory Ordinance 21-119, an ordinance adopting the tax budget for the year 2022 as amended. This public hearing will take place during a special business meeting at 5:15 on Monday, October 25th, 2021 in City Hall and virtually via Zoom. Residents wishing to submit comments may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.com or virtually via Zoom during the meeting. Any questions or comments, please contact the city clerk's office. Thank you. So now let's move on to public comment. Zoom participants are welcome to speak. You'll have 5 minutes to discuss city issues. And I ask you that you please are respectful. Clerk, could you please let everyone know how they can participate? Those wishing to speak via Zoom, please raise your hand and leave it raised, and we'll allow you to speak one by one. And also, as stated at our last business meeting, City Council has adopted guidelines moving forward regarding public comment. These new guidelines have been adopted by City Council and posted to the city's website. Those wishing to participate may do so via Zoom by clicking the raise hand button, leaving it raised, and then we will call upon you. Each speaker will be giving 5 minutes to address the city, and they should state their full name and if they live or work in the city.
I'm here. Sorry, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
So for the record, Councilman Burns has joined us. First speaker is going to be Tina Chronopoulos, so I'll allow you to speak right now.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm starting my timer. My name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue, and my representative on council is Sophia Rezanetti. A couple of things I would like to talk about tonight. Just to clarify on FOIL. When the clerk's office says that they have received an inordinate number of FOIL requests that relate to police work, I would like everyone to know that the police department actually has a specifically designated records officer. So the claim that the clerk's office is somehow inundated and finding it difficult to respond to FOIL requests by saying that this is because there are increased number of requests for police record is, if you forgive me, baloney, okay? The person who deals with FOIL requests in the police department, Becky Sutliff-Smith, has been nothing but amazing. Unlike the city clerk, this person responds to requests within 5 days, is generally responsive, and gets the job done. So I would like you to all know this claim that increased police records requests are making life difficult for the city clerk's office, at least from where I'm sitting, that is not an excuse nor really an explanation. Another thing that I want to talk about, just a point of information or additional information at the last council meeting. Sophia Resniti at the end reminded us all that is Domestic Violence Month. So yeah, that's all good and well. But, you know, aside from prevention, when it comes to educating teenagers, some risk factors for what is called intimate partner violence is actually low income and unemployment. And something that leads people to perpetrate this is stress, anxiety, a belief in strict gender roles, such as, you know, toxic masculinity, as well as just general aggressive behavior in general. So, you know, some of the votes that you have taken over the last year or so make me think that you seem not to be aware of the risk factors at work at large, right? Like the way that you've shuffled ARPA money around, the way that you're constantly underfunding social services in the city makes me think that maybe you are not fully aware. I'm also hoping to talk to you about what's called officer-involved domestic violence. In 1999, the International Association of Police Chiefs characterized officer-involved domestic violence as a problem that exists at some serious level and deserves careful attention, okay? In 1999, Johnson, in a report called On the Front Lines, a hearing before the Select Committee on Children, Youth and Families, reported that 40% of responding officers admitted they had behaved violently towards their spouse at least once during previous 6 months. And in an article called Interspousal Aggression in Law Enforcement Families, published in the Journal on Police Studies in 1992 by Nadis, Russell, and Sang, they found that 41% of physical aggression in marital relationships during the previous year was, this is related to officer-involved domestic violence. So just to remind you, your unflailing support of the police and your unflailing yes votes on increasing their budgets seem in stark contrast when you claim that you want to make us aware of domestic violence. I just found that just so patronizing, because it sounds to me like you exist in some kind of bubble. And by the way, I don't mean to sit here and say that the work that police officers do is easy. And in fact, research shows that it is
1 minute.
exactly the spillover of violence, right? This exposure to violence on the job that makes it very difficult for officers to sort of stop bringing that attitude home. And then finally, thank you, I guess, for putting on a special meeting to allow the public to comment. 5:15 seems kind of early for those of us who work. Some of us don't finish work until 6 o'clock in the evening. I speak of myself. So I'm not really sure how this is inclusive or accessible. Could have been nice if you had maybe put that hearing for 6 o'clock or 6:30. But, you know, I guess we can email the city clerk by 1 o'clock. Again, for those of us who work full-time jobs, the way you run this stuff is just really disheartening. Anyway, thanks for your time.
Anyone else?
Okay, there are no other hands raised, so we can on to our legislation for tonight.
This is Councilwoman Friedman. There was a letter that we received via email.
Oh, okay.
I
Is this the clerk? Do you have that?
So I can't access it because I'm having difficulty with my email right now.
Okay, so will the clerk read that, please? Right? Or is this an email regarding, they want it in the records? Okay.
If not, I might be able
Thank
to
you.
do it on my phone. I don't know if I can.
You can, but Mr. Rogers will read it. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
So under our new rules, we actually have council members read these, but I'll read this for Councilwoman Friedman. So-
Can I clarify though? It does say the council member may read it. It does not say that the council member will read it.
That's correct.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes.
Lee, would you like me to read it just so a council member is reading it into the record? I can do that. I have it in front of me.
If you would like to, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilman.
Of course. Esteemed city council members, I am reaching out to you today. Forgive me, I'm just looking in this direction to read it. I'm reaching out to you today to have a concern addressed. My name is Aaron Alexander, and I have been a resident of the city for around 30 years. I'm a transgender rights activist and have gone to area schools to provide faculty training on creating a welcoming and supportive atmosphere for our area's LGBT students, as well as have had direct input on the GENDA, G-E-N-D-A, Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act. At the time, it was being written at the request of the governor's office in Albany. Over the past 2 years, I have unfortunately been forced to have negative interactions with this city's police department, which occurred because of John Barry, the executive director of Southern Tier AIDS program. Mr. Barry has repeatedly stalked my social media and has several times sent officers from the Binghamton Police Department to my home in order to threaten me and force me to remove statements I had made from my social media under threat of police violence regarding his treatment of me and actions, all of which were not public facing, rather visible solely to a limited audience of which he was not a member. This in itself indicates Mr. Barry has enlisted others to keep tabs on me, and it is of great concern to me that he is utilizing this community's emergency services to accomplish this goal. In the last such occurrence, during which an armed police officer appeared at my home's door to demand I remove a statement I had made that Mr. Barry has been threatening me by using the police, I told the officer that if that was the case, he also needed to visit Mr. Barry regarding the real crime of stalking and harassing members of this community, which was dismissed immediately by the officer as, quote, "That's a civil matter," end quote. If so, then why are they not telling Mr. Barry the very same thing? Question mark. What special privileges or office elevates him above the other members of this community and allows him to violate our civil rights on a whim? Question mark. I am asking this body for a few minor things to address this issue. Bullet 1, the permanent suspension of Mr. Barry's and staff's Southern Tier AIDS programs ability to call the police and send them anywhere in the city other than to one of their offices to address safety concerns with staff there, just like any other business that is running in this area is expected to do. Bullet 2, an audit of calls and reports made to Binghamton Police Department by staff, especially Mr. Barry, to determine the extent to which staff abuses their access to emergency services. Bullet 3, that the city recoup losses, should they deem fit, from staff for utilizing the police department as their private security force based on the aforementioned audit. Bullet 4, punitive suspension of Southern Tier 8's program's license to operate in Binghamton until they can certify they have corrected their internal issues. Bullet 5, a refresher for the officers serving our community on civil rights and what constitutes a valid emergency versus a civil issue that should be mediated elsewhere. End of bullets. I feel these are reasonable and fair requests and necessary for not only myself, but also those who do not have the means, safety, and visibility themselves to address it, yet have also been impacted by Mr. Barry's such actions in the past. I thank you for your service to our community and the attention to this matter. Aaron Alexander.
Thank you, Councilman Scaringi.
you.
We're going to move on now to second read legislation. First up, we have reconsideration of permanent ordinance 21-106 considered in finance with Councilman Strawn. Councilman?
Thank you, Madam President. Lee, do I start right with the series of motions, or do I read the introductory ordinance first?
That's correct. So with number 1 on your motion template.
Okay. There's a series of three motions here before we, or the third one is the final vote. Okay. As council, I make a motion to reconsider permanent ordinance 21-106 adopted on October 6, 2021. It's an ordinance to amend the 2021 police budget for personal services, uniforms, and transfer to capital, and to amend the 2021 capital budget.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Councilman Strawn, continue.
Thanks. Secondly, make a motion to amend permanent ordinance 21-106 to replace section 2 as follows. Section 2, that the comptroller and city treasurer of the city of Binghamton are hereby authorized and directed to amend the 2021 capital budget for various projects as follows. 1, $200,000 increase to revenue budget line H.45031 interfund transfer. 2, $49,000 increase expense budget line H1680.590004. That's IT info management. 3, $81,000 increase expense budget line H7110.590009. That's parks. 4, $40,000 increase expense budget line H1490.510009. That's Department of Public Works, FT Gates. And 5, $30,000 increase expense budget line H1650.525301, DPW traffic control.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, we'll do a full roll call.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Resonetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, so that amendment passes. Please continue, Councilman Strawn.
I ask council to, I make a motion to approve permanent ordinance 21-106 as amended.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Full
Call
roll
the
call,
question,
please.
Madam President.
Question we call full roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Resonetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, it passes. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our next item on our second read. We have introductory ordinance 21-110 considered in finance. Councilman Strawn.
Thank you, Madam President. Council for unanimous consideration of introductory ordinance 21-110. An ordinance to amend the 2021 capital budget to transfer funds from the general fund balance for the Water Street parking garage.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Someone will question? Oh, go ahead, Councilwoman Freeman. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam
Sorry.
President. That's okay. I've been considering this piece of legislation, and it is not lost on me that there are multiple expensive multi-million-dollar capital projects that have been proposed after that large chunk of ARPA money, the $12 million, was moved into the general fund. So while we might say we're not directly using ARPA money to do this project, I think in a sense we are. And I totally understand that this is a necessary project. I understand that it's a potential safety issue. And of course, we need to address this eventually. I don't know if in the midst of a pandemic is the best, most appropriate time for this project. So I understand that eventually it has to be done, but you know, I can't vote in good conscience to approve projects like this when we are not falling over ourselves to meet the basic needs of community members. So is this a necessary project? Yes. Is this a necessary time to be doing this project? I would argue that the answer is no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Someone call the question?
Call the question, Madam President.
Thank you. Question be called. Roll call, please.
Councilman Scringy,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Resonetti.
Aye.
All right, that's 6 ayes, 1 nay.
Okay, on to our next item on second read, Introductory Resolution 21-83, considered in the Public Works and Parks Committee. Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for unanimous consideration for Introductory Resolution 21-83. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Pike United LLC to build a parking garage.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Friedman?
Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is another, well, actually, first of all, I have a question on this. I have a question and a comment. So my question, I don't know if anyone's able to answer this. It says a local development corporation. Is that the Binghamton Local Development Corporation, BLDC, or is that referring to something else?
Councilwoman, this is Maggie. This is in a separate LDC that's being created for this project.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that first. And then this one this is the one that I've been going back and forth on. I think that there are certainly benefits to this project. We heard from the company that was that had submitted the design plans and things. I know that one benefit is that it creates housing at it's a privately funded source of, or a private source of funding is what I meant to say. So that's good. It will create more housing. There would be a pilot, so we would generate more revenue for the city. I certainly want to do things that create an atmosphere for downtown Binghamton where people want to live and work and spend time and spend money. So those are the benefits, and I want to highlight those, but there are also drawbacks to this project as well. And these are weighing on me. The number one is gentrification and displacement of people. So we have pretty much met the need for market rate or luxury housing. I know that technically these are considered market rate housing, but any rent that's minimum $1,500 a month to me and to many people living in this city, that's luxury. That's a price point that is more than, let's say 30% or so of most people's income in this city. And we have heard people at basically every single meeting talking about the desperate need for affordable housing. And I know that one is not mutually exclusive with the other. It does, if we take a look at the bigger picture here and the housing stock as a whole, there are people that are being displaced in their communities because of lots of factors, but one of them is, again, gentrification, this increase in luxury housing that pushes people out who are transient because they can only afford, they're kind of at the whim of the landlord. And if maybe they can afford housing, but it's not safe, or it has bed bugs, or there's, there's issues that, like, technically it's up to code, but it's not really the kind of place that someone would want to live. So before while we haven't addressed the need, we still have people who are homeless in this community and who have to move multiple times a year. Again, while I see the benefits of this project, I can't in good conscience vote for more luxury housing while we haven't met the needs of people who are living here, who, instead of these hypothetical people that will maybe move into these luxury units, we have actual people who are being pushed out of the city. And I'm looking at the bigger picture here, housing as a whole. I can't vote to fund more luxury housing while we have not addressed the housing needs of the people who already live here. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Just for clarification, because I can't go back to our notes in my email, the local development corporation that is being funded will be comprised of whom? Who are the major stakeholders?
The LDC is just an economic development vehicle. It's not made up of like individual people.
But I
So
remember
it'll be the city.
So the city will be the major entity within this LDC that's being formed.
Correct, because the LDC just allows for flexibility in bidding for the project.
Okay, when we were talking with Pike and the gentleman, I thought they were forming a joint entity as well, and that's not this one.
Correct. So there's going to be an agreement between LDC and Pike.
Okay.
So in a similar fashion between the city and Pike.
And then we are then leasing to ourselves. Per this legislation. And again, I apologize because I was trying to get to this earlier, but I couldn't email anyone.
This legislation, Councilwoman, it just makes the city the guarantor for the LDC. This doesn't actually create the LDC or a lease. So
Okay.
in passing this, the city will prepare to create the LDC subject to council's approval.
Okay. You see what I'm saying? The second line of that legislation, it says, and lease the same to the city of Binghamton.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, so the entity we're creating will then lease to itself.
Correct, because the city is going to be the owners and operators of the garage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, someone call a question?
Call the question.
Question call, roll call, please.
Councilman Scringy,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
I think you're muted. Councilman Burns,
Aye.
thank you. Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Resonetti.
Aye,
All right, that's 6 ayes, 1 nay.
thank you. Now let's move on to tonight's preferred agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything from the preferred agenda before we proceed? Okay, clerk, would you please introduce the preferred agenda items tonight.
Okay, our first item is Introductory Ordinance 21-112. This is considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 joint sewer project budget to use fund balance for personal and professional services.
Any discussion? Okay, next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-113, considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 capital fund budget to adjust the serial bond revenue line for NISDOT grant paydowns that will reduce the amount of bonds issued and received.
Any discussion? Next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-114, considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 capital fund budget to adjust the serial bond revenue line for grant paydowns that will reduce the amount of bonds issued and received.
Any discussion? Next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-115, considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 budget for legal services in the law department.
Any discussion? Okay, next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-116, considered in finance, and an ordinance to amend the 2021 insurance fund budget for legal services in risk management.
Any discussion? Okay, next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-117, considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 DPW budget to transfer funds to the central garage budget.
Any discussion? Okay, next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-118, considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 parks budget for maintenance at Fairview Park.
Any discussion? Next.
Okay, next is Introductory Resolution 21-86, considered in finance. A resolution authorizing the city of Binghamton to renew the contract with the Broome County Front Street Dog Shelter for dog shelter services.
Any discussion? Next.
The last one on the preferred agenda is Introductory Resolution 21-87, considered in finance. Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with NISDOT for the Holly Street, Washington Street traffic signal upgrade.
Any discussion? Okay,
Madam President, I'll make a motion to accept the preferred agenda as submitted.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. For roll call, please.
Councilman Scringy,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Resonetti.
Aye. That's 7 ayes, 0 nays. Okay, it passes. So next on the agenda, we have one item on non-preferred introductory resolution 21-85, considered in Public Works Parks Committee. Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. Ask for unanimous consideration for introductory resolution 21-85. Resolution authorizing the city of Binghamton to accept a donation of a plaque and bench to be displayed at the Recreation Park Reflection Pool.
Any
Second.
discussion? Oh, thank you. So part of this donation is from the Resinetti family, so I'll ask for a motion to allow me to abstain from my fellow council members.
So moved for the reasons stated.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So I guess now Councilman Scanlon, you'll need to take over and to ask for any more discussion on this legislation and for someone to call the question and a vote.
Thank you, Madam President. So for all intents and purposes, I'm sitting in the president's chair now, so I would ask if there are any, and I can't see my phone, I can't not see you on my phone. So is there any discussion on this, RL?
Mr. President Pro Tem, I'll make a motion to call the question.
Question been called? Roll call, please.
Councilman Scringy,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Resinetti will abstain. So that is 6 ayes and 1 abstain.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now we can move on to council member comments. And tonight we'll start with District 3, Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. There is a bit of noise, so can we mute that microphone that's not being used right now? Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank all of the residents that came out yesterday for our redistricting conversation. It was well attended, and it is still available. We were privileged to have a great discussion led by Ms. Isis McIntosh Green, the Deputy Co-Executive Director of the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission. For those of you that don't know, we are undergoing a redistricting process post the census data that has been received. There are several maps up for discussion, and we will be hosting, well, the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission will be hosting a live hearing here for the Southern Tier at the Binghamton University IRC on the 25th, which is right before our budgeting meeting. So we're encouraging all residents, whether you like the draft maps, if you don't like the draft maps, to please submit your feedback and be a part of this process, because it will be what we are held to for the next 10 years. So I think that's very important. I also want to thank all of the cleanup crews that have been going throughout the 3rd District on their own and or in groups. And happy fall. So that concludes my message for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I was fortunate enough earlier today to attend the YWCA flag raising with some of my colleagues, Councilwoman Riley and Councilwoman Resinetti. And it was in honor of a week without violence, again, in light of October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I guess I can paraphrase what I said earlier today, which is that the YWCA is in my district, and I'm so thankful that we have a resource such as that, that many women and children and families rely on. And their mission statement or their tagline is empowering women and eliminating racism. And I'm glad that they are doing that work. And I also dream of a day when that work is no longer necessary. I don't mean to come after your jobs, YWCA employees, but wouldn't it be nice if one day we could say mission accomplished? But until then, we have to continue funding important programs like this that help people who are experiencing homelessness or on the verge of homelessness, and providing daycare and a shelter and a safe space and things like that. So there was a nice flag raising ceremony earlier today. And I think that's it. I don't have any announcements of upcoming events. I think that's all that I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Burns.
I think it's very generous of the Restanetti family to put the bench and the plaque in the park. I've sat there many times around there, so looking forward to sitting on the bench. And that's about it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Burns. Councilman Strawn.
Thank you, Madam President. Just encourage everybody to enjoy this beautiful fall weather in our beautiful city. And we got early voting and election day coming up. So I would encourage everybody out there to vote. Sometimes these off-year elections are overlooked a little bit, but we have some important stuff going on. So I hope everybody gets out there and gets the information to get to the right place and vote. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a shout out to Dan Merkel, the newly hired Commissioner of Public Works. I called him on Friday at 4:00 in the afternoon about a vacant property in my district, which had some debris and junk dumped on it. And by 6:00 it was gone. So thank you, Mr. Merkel, for your prompt attention to that. And as always, thank you to the men and women of the Binghamton Police Department and the men and women of the Fire Department for keeping us safe. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Squirngy.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to, like Councilman Strawn said, just remind everyone that obviously we have an election day coming up and some pretty important races here locally in the city of Binghamton and Broome County. Early voting actually starts on Saturday, October 23rd. There's 2 locations you can go to, the Broome County Public Library in Court Street or the Oakdale Mall in JC. I believe it's around the rear entrance. And depending on your work schedule or where you work, you can actually go to either one of those places with early voting, and you can vote within your respective election district. And of course, on election day, you'll vote where you normally vote, which is communicated from the Broome County Board of Elections. I definitely want to thank many departments throughout City Hall, particularly those engaged with the SEPTED committee. Oh my goodness, code, zoning, vacant property officer, mayor's office, police, fire, so many different entities who we've been all working together, having community meetings with constituents regarding some properties, and really getting constituents the opportunity to get their voices heard and get these issues taken care of. I know it's been pretty long standing, so we have another meeting coming up next Friday, so I want to thank them all for that, for their time. I want to remind residents, if you are on Main and you turn on Glenwood, driving northbound toward Clinton, as you're going under the railroad overpass, please be mindful and careful for your safety with the tires on your car. With the water work that was completed there, there's a new area where there are cement guides, and it looks like there are quite a number of tires that are bumping up on that. So I will be reaching out to working with the mayor's office and reach out DPW, see if we can get some sort of lines painted down on there, just to help guide people as they're driving through, particularly at night. So just be mindful of that. Enjoy the weather. It's supposed to be beautiful out tomorrow as well. And that's all I have. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Just a couple quick things. First, I wanted to say thank you to former Congressmen Dan Micah and John Micah, Florida. One Democrat, one Republican. These are relatives from my husband's side who, although they did leave Binghamton a while ago and went on to do some great things, they have never forgotten their roots. They've never forgotten Binghamton, and they have always supported our community. And so I want to thank them for reaching out and wanting to replace a bench that apparently was there decades ago or many years ago that has been, I don't know, destroyed or misplaced. And wanted to say something like in memory of Micah and Resinetti family members who have served our nation. Thank you to the Micah family and those who have served our nation. It's always very touching when folks leave, but they never forget. This is always home. So that's one thing. The other one, oh, and thank you all for accepting that donation. The other thing I want to talk about is, as Councilwoman Friedman said, we were here today for a flag raising, declaring this week without violence. I believe it's the 18th through the 23rd. I too would like to see the day when domestic violence doesn't exist. I would like to see the day when our sons and daughters from a very young age are able to understand what is appropriate, what is respectful. And it takes time, it takes effort, it takes education, it takes funding, it takes legislation, it takes a whole lot of things to make that happen. And I'm certainly committed to that as much as possible. Along with that, well, first, let me just say that domestic violence, and I've talked about this before, so I don't want to, keep repeating myself, but this is an issue that crosses all socioeconomic status sort of lines. It impacts folks from all races, gender even, it's ethnicity and so on. It's something that is so unfortunately much ingrained into our culture in so many ways. And I can't speak enough of it. I think that is one of the biggest ills in our society. This is behavior that is often learned at home and is behavior that continues on to the next generation. Along with that, I wanted to just let folks know that I will be having a supply drive for much needed items for victims of domestic violence, October 30th, Erect Park, 2 to 5. We're hoping the weather will be decent, but no matter what, I will be there, even with an umbrella. And I do ask folks to support this event. It is imperative. It is so important that these women have certain items. And some of you can go to my Facebook page, you can look at the list and the items that are needed, from gift cards to hygiene products to diapers to you name it, it's on there. It's very much needed, and often women will leave in the middle of the night with just the clothes on their backs and their children on their hips. And so I ask you to please support the event, spread the word, and let's all come together and help as much as possible, recognizing the victims of domestic violence and honoring those that have actually lost their lives. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
So
moved.
move. Second.
Thank you. Have a great night.